everybody. Can you hear me? Just give me a simple yes, please. Let's see if anybody is here, I guess. Is anybody here? Hello? I need to know if you guys can hear me or not. Hello? You can. Awesome. Thanks, Christina. I used to do these on a Sunday night just after Marty, but Marty of late has been having a habit of going really more than half an hour, and that sort of made it extremely late. Good morning, Karen. What else have we got? Patricia, awesome to see you. Robert, good stuff. Guys, today I just want to have a little bit of fun to start off with. I've got a couple of subjects I would like to cover. It's not going to take all that long, but I want to have a little bit of fun up front. And the fun's got to be more or less about getting out, getting experienced, still being silly no matter how old you are. Well, in my case anyway. Sean, good to see you. Thanks for joining. And I guess I start by, the good old saying is you're only as old as you feel. In my mind and in my heart, I can honestly say I'm probably, I like to think I'm a 25-year-old. Come to think of it, my body keeps reminding me every now and then by saying simply, you wish. You wish. So, looking back at my life, in case you're wondering how old I am, I'm not 100% sure myself. Last time I checked my birth certificate, it said 512 BC, so you can work that one out yourself. The funny thing about getting old is, when you're in your 20s, you wish you were older and had all the money and the cars and the whatnots of all the so-called successful people. As you get into your 30s, you might settle down, get married, have a decent job and all the rest of it. And that probably keeps going till around about 40, 50, and then all of a sudden reality sinks in and you think, oh, I'm getting old now. I am really getting old now. Well, are you? I guess age comes back to attitude and mindset. In one of my last, Lynn, awesome, great to see you. Welcome to my life. It comes back to the mindset. In one of my previous lives, I told the story about the lady friend I had in Melbourne in Australia, Elizabeth, and her 70th birthday, and she was just the life of the party in every sense of the word. And when I asked her, how do you keep yourself like this? The answer she gave me basically made me think and became somewhat a bit of a guideline for myself. Is just because the piece of paper says I'm old, should I feel old? Because the other people pointed at me and said, "Oh, look at that old woman." She said, "No." She said, "It's all in here. I do what I want to do when I want to do it for as long as I can do it, irrespective of what age I might be." Catherine, all the way from the UK, great to see you. Thanks. So, age is a wonderful thing. One of my biggest influences was my grandfather. I used to spend, Dana, good to see you. When I was in my early teens, 11, 12, 13, thereabouts, I used to spend my weekend with my grandparents. Now, Grandpa always had a damn good attitude. He was a funny man, he was a bit of a joker, and he had an abundance of experience, obviously. Now, when my grandpa was in his 70s, one thing I've noticed, even as a young kid back then, he never slept like other old people, like your 8 hours, your 9 hours, your 10 hours. He used to sleep on average around about 6 hours a night. So one day I asked him and I said to him, Grandpa, why aren't you sleeping like all the other old people? why? What's the difference? What's the reason? He looked me. He put his hands on my shoulders. He looked me in the eyes and he said, "I can sleep all I want when I'm dead." Let that sink in for a minute. I can sleep all I want when I'm dead. He said, "This is now, this is life. I want to see, I want to experience as much as I possibly can for as long as I possibly can." And good on him, that was his last philosophy. And being the joker, as I said he was, um, yeah, why not? I'll bring this up. My grandpa used to burp and fart a lot. I'm serious. It was kind of embarrassing, but as a kid, you think, oh, this is really funny. But again, being curious when you're at a very young age, I asked him one day, I said, "Grandpa, why do you always fart?" And he looked at me, he laughed, and he said, "You know what, boy?" He said, "A fart is like a bad tenant. If it doesn't pay any rent, it's got to get out." And that was my grandpa, I mean, he's just been a wonderful man. Theo, great to see you, buddy. Um, so old age is a wonderful thing in many ways, but it also comes with certain things that you simply will not experience as a young person. For instance, I knew I was getting old when all the names in my phone book end in MD, right? And then when people say, "Oh, you're old," I said, "No, I'm not old. I'm chronologically gifted." Simple. But then again, at my age, flowers sometimes scare me, you know. But do you know when you're really too old, is that whenever you eat out, when they ask you for the money up front, that's when you know that you're old. So, one last thing, I've been married for 11 years. I've been married to a wonderful woman. She is my rock, especially currently in the hard times. We've been living on borrowed money for the last 2 years. Um, can't wait for the apples to come in, to be perfectly honest, like probably most of you. Kathy has been of tremendous support. She's a little bit camera shy, otherwise I'd drag her in front of the camera, but she is definitely very camera shy. But she's been my rock in many, many ways and more ways than one. And I can also say, yes, we have our difficulties, especially when it's about finances. But at the end of the day, we do have a very good relationship. And every once in a while, you get asked, "What's the secret of a successful marriage?" Listra, fantastic that you could make it. Great to see you. And people say, what's a successful what's the secret of a successful marriage? And I said, well, in our case, we go out twice a week for a romantic dinner. Kathy goes on Tuesdays, I go on Fridays. That's a joke, guys. Okay, just to have a little bit of fun. Now, look, all is good, and we're certainly looking forward to bigger, better, and brighter days. And like you said, Lynn, it's extremely important and totally awesome to have a supportive spouse. So for those of you who have, count your blessings and count them every single day. Be grateful for what you have. Now, what I want to get onto today is enthusiasm. Let's leave the old age by the wayside, okay? There are several steps to accomplish anything in life that you really want. And the steps, as I see them, that activity is the foundation of all accomplishments. So no activity, ain't nothing's gonna happen. You gotta do the work, you gotta put the work in. Then you should do it with enthusiasm. Why? Because enthusiasm breeds faith, and faith stimulates action. I believe you, like many others, desire to attain financial freedom for yourself and your family. So what you got to do is work the extra mile as to enable you to reap the successes you set forth early. Remember, you can accomplish your dream, but you also got to understand things do not just happen, things are made to happen. To become successful, you must be a person of action. Merely to know something is just not sufficient. It is necessary both to know and to do. To mobilize yourself, you need to decide what you want and then determine what will get you what you want. Do what you will, get what you want to achieve everything in your life. You can when you believe you can. I want to do a little exercise with you guys. Suppose you had 5 birds sitting on a wire and 3 of them decided to fly away. How many birds would you have left on the wire? Your answers in the chat, please. Question again. Suppose you had 5 birds sitting on a piece of wire and 3 of them decided to fly. How many birds would you have left on the wire? Waiting for some answers. Okay, so we got 5 birds. They're sitting on the telephone line. 3 decide they're going to fly away. How many birds are left? Come on, guys. Awesome. ah, one person got it right. Christina, congratulations. And Robert. Awesome. I know the answer is not 2, Lynn, you're dead right. Let me explain to you why. So 5 birds will remain, okay? Why? They already made a decision. Making a decision to fly without acting on the decision is a waste of energy. And that applies to a lot of situations in your life. Henry, good to see you. Glad you could make it. The momentum to do something about our decisions is energized by action. Activity is the foundation of all accomplishments in life. Think big, talk big, dream big, and do big. And you will certainly accomplish your ultimate success. No ifs, no buts, just ask Ash. But enthusiasm also breeds faith, and faith stimulates action, as I said earlier. Regardless of public conception or how the dictionaries might describe the word enthusiasm, it is nothing more or less than faith in action. Enthusiasm comes from the 2 Greek words en and theos, which mean in and God. Enthusiasm is a propellant we receive when we tap the power within ourselves. Enthusiasm is also the radiant power which we process once we know who we are, what we can do, and where we are going. Enthusiasm is usually confused with animated feeling. Animated feeling refers to that feeling which is full of life, vivacious, vigorous, and possessed with action or spirit produced by external forces. But animated feeling can be turned on and off like an electric light. Not so with enthusiasm. In order to become successful, you must possess enthusiasm and not animated feelings. Excuse me. True success requires a great amount of enthusiasm and not animated feelings, simply because animated feelings don't last. Just like any online business, you need a great amount of enthusiasm in order to become successful. Excuse me. Enthusiastic force is steady, it never wavers. Great orators captivate their audience by the portrayed feelings of their enthusiasm. Through this force, master salesmen easily convey to their customers the faith with which they have for their service or product. Got somebody tickling the back of my throat. More often than not, it is the degree of someone's enthusiasm rather than the skill that determines whether his sermons are dry or spirited or moving. Enthusiasm is a solid faith in its first cause, solid faith in oneself and the rooted belief in your life's work. Enthusiasm is a force of character and inward power, if you like. It imports such a concentration of the will upon the realization of a worthwhile idea as to impel it onward over the next gigantic barrier, or to crush every opposing force that stands in the way of its triumph. Enthusiasm knows of nothing but success. With enthusiasm, you will accomplish your dream. No ifs, no buts. And that's as much as I really want to touch on the subject of enthusiasm for tonight. Getting back to our CEO, Ash, it's awesome to see, or let me backtrack for a minute. Just imagine, put yourself in Ash's shoes for 1 minute. The guy sleeps on average 4 to 5 hours a day. He's receiving so many texts, phone calls, emails, in between going to different meetings, and yet he still finds the time to come and see us. And do you ever see that he's, depressed or in a bad mood, or as soon as he talks to his family, that's us, about on passive? I guess it's the best example of enthusiasm you can possibly see. Not irrespective of all the crap, all the mud, all the stuff that he's got to go through, and the reason why, I guess, because Ash 150% believes in what he does and where he's going. Excuse me. So at the end of the day, as long as you got enthusiasm with whatever it is you do in your life, maybe spiritually, family-wise, or any other way, you will be successful. It will not happen overnight. It will not happen, within a week. You got to work on things depending on the size of your dreams. And the bigger your dream, obviously, the longer it's going to take to achieve those. Now, initially, I had planned to finish right here and then, but this morning, whilst I was doing some research, oh, Henry, I like that. One of my mentors would say, if you catch fire with enthusiasm, people will come from miles away to watch you burn. You're dead right. I did some research this morning on my next week's subject, which is actually things to do before you die. It's going to be a lot of fun, as there's a lot of apples involved. So you can pencil that one down. Totally agree, Lynn. I couldn't have said it better. So whilst I'm doing some research this morning about the crazy things one can do when money is absolutely no object, I came across the story, a true story, of a young guy in Thailand. And I read the story 3 times, and I loved it so much, I really, really would like to share it. Excuse me, share it with you. Just excuse me, man. That's probably better. If you hear any background noise, and it's raining cats and dogs outside. It's coming down in buckets. The story is about a guy called John from Thailand. John discovered that money was highly overrated, so please listen to his story. John lived in a small village in Thailand where he had a happy childhood. He said, when I was a kid, everything was fun and everything was easy. But then things changed. His neighbors told him to go and get a job in the city so he could become successful. They said, "You are poor. You will never make it in a small village like ours. You need to go to the big smoke, and in order to be successful, that's the only choice you have. You really need to go to Bangkok to pursue success in your life." Being a young man listening to the village elders, he listened and decided to move to the big city. They also told him, "You need to learn and study a lot and work very hard, and then you will find success." He tried to learn and he tried to study. And at some stage, John said, "It's very hard to learn in the university because I find it very boring. I worked very hard, at least 8 hours every day, but all I could afford to eat was a bowl of noodles." And that is what we call the society trap. And most of us fall into it. The trap where we overcomplicate our lives just so we find success. And in the process, forget about what makes us really happy. John said, "When I worked hard, I asked myself many times, why is my life so hard? I must be doing something wrong because I produce a lot of things, but I cannot get enough to make ends meet." When I was in Bangkok, I felt life is very hard and very complicated. Eat, work, sleep, repeat. It took him 7 years to break out of that routine. He decided to quit university and went back home to his village. When he was back home, he remembered what life was like as a kid and started to live again. Listen carefully, he started to live again. Despite what people had told him, John started building his happy life in the village. He grew his own food, and it was more than enough to feed his family. Together they lived a very humble life. John said one of the aha moments in his life was when he went to buy a pair of jeans after saving his money for 1 month to do so. Whenever I turned left, then right, whilst in front of the mirror, every time I looked, I saw the same person. John might not be the most educated person, but he understands life more than some of us. Now, the best part of his story is that by living so humbly and close to nature, John found his success too. You see, he has a gift of building unique earthen houses. Earthen homes are built from bricks made out of mud, basically. John was the first person who built earthen homes in Thailand. He said, "I always thought that stupid people like me who never get a grade in school cannot have a house. I still have no money, but I have many, many houses. For all these years, living in the big city, living by society's standards, chasing money and success, I found nothing. But the moment he listened to his heart and decided to go back to a humble life, he found absolutely everything." And this is the truth I feel many of us need to hear. His unique houses brought more success to him than he could ever imagine. And for more than 10 years now, he teaches people all over Thailand and some other parts of the world how to build their own home. He even started speaking on many publications and local TV programs, bringing the natural building movement to Thailand and then globally. And most important, after a long search for success and happiness, John has shown us that very often what we are searching for is right in front of us all along. John said, "I do not need to make myself like anybody else. This is me. This is a real freedom, freedom to do what you want to do, freedom to do what you believe in." It wasn't easy to find this freedom, and now I enjoy to be different a lot. I learned that the big city doesn't equal big happiness. And his message to all of us, by listening to your heart, you will find your freedom. Trust your gut feeling, trust your instinct. Do what makes you happy. Do not be influenced by the naysayers, the haters. So, guys, I think there's a very, very big message in that story. I really, really loved it. I really wanted to share it with you because it's a very, very big hidden message in that. Whatever it is you want to do in life, you want to be happy, you want to find your freedom, it's not always about money. It is what makes you happy, what makes you feel being you, not what other people expect of you. I have a saying I live by: why be normal when you can be yourself? And at the end of the day, maybe we should start learning not to take life too serious, because guess what? No one gets out alive. Simple as that. So don't take life too serious, guys. That's all I got for you today. See you next week when I want to talk about things to do before we die. There's actually two parts. It'll be a part one and a part two. The part one is on the more serious side. The part two, which will be the week after next, will be for the travel-minded people. Mainly covering travel aspects and stuff that goes with it. But I don't want to give too much away. That's all for today. Thank you so much for joining me. I really, really appreciate it. Don't forget, 30 minutes from now, we got Marty, Chris, and Red doing their 360. I'll see you all there. Thanks again for joining. I would appreciate it if you really enjoyed yourself today. Help spread the word a little bit so we get a few more bumps on the seats for next week. In the meantime, you look after yourself. God bless and stay safe. Thank you so much. Yay!